guys, welcome back to the channel, welcome to the video, and welcome to a new series which is basically going to be showcasing cars and owners of cars that are my favourite cars of any sort of brackets. And I'd like to welcome Andy to the channel, so thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
As you can see, we have this incredible EK9 behind us, and we're just going to do a big deep dive into the entire build of this thing and just talk about all the parts, the build process and everything that's gone on with this. There's nothing left to it. Should we just walk around and have a chat about it?
Absolutely.
This is an absolutely incredible example of an EK9. And so Andy, what's your sort of history of this thing?
Bought the car in October of 2008. I bought it because I was at a Honda dealer at the time and I was selling loads of people EK9 headlights, EK9 grills, and I thought maybe there's an opportunity, let's actually buy an EK9. There was one kind of local to me through someone who imported them. Saw it was completely stock and really fell in love with it. I kind of had a history with Honda anyway, owned a few Civics prior, and that's why the Type R was certainly something that I had to go for.
Obviously, since the standard car, it's been on a pretty major journey. Definitely isn't a standard car anymore. Let's start with the exterior of the car then. I can obviously see this genuine Mugen front lip.
Yeah, so it's the Mugen Type SS front lower spoiler. I saw it at a Honda meet on this EK, and I said to him straight away, I said, look mate, if you're selling that, I will have it 100%. He said, oh, you're second in queue, but sure, no problem. Okay, some time went past, might have even been years, and then he contacted me saying, look, I am selling it, I'm breaking the car. The first guy let me down on the lip. Do you want it? I said, yeah, and I went down there that evening and got it off of him. I like it because it's really rare to have a real one. As far as I'm aware, there's maybe only one or two in the whole of Europe, and for me, that's what I wanted. I want something individual and different, so I'm really glad I got that piece. Then it's the same kind of thing with the bonnet. It's a Shift Sports hood. I hadn't really seen many around. I'd seen some in Japan, and actually there's a picture of two EK9s sat next to each other underneath a blossom tree, and one of them has got the Shift Sports hood. So then I started looking into what was that bonnet, found out it was Shift Sports. Shift Sports are really, I think, small company, because when the box arrived, it literally just says Shift Sports spray painted on it, you know what I mean, through a stencil. Fantastic hood, really doesn't weigh a lot, and like I say, it's something different, and I don't want to be the same or have something the same as someone else. I think that's the whole point of the car, is that you make it a little bit unique to yourself.
From what my understanding, Shift Sports made the Buddy Club bonnet for the EP3, but also the Shift Sports bonnet for the S2000 is my plan for my car. So cool to see this, because it is very similar in design to the S2000 one. This it just gives it this subtle kind of aggression, but what I love about it is that the lines of the vent coming like up the bonnet match the lines of the shape of the car, so it just like flows really nicely.
Yeah, it looks like it could be OE kind of plus. It looks like, and what I didn't want, because the J's one's quite aggressive, the J's one comes up and it's quite steep. That definitely make you stand out. For me, I can downplay things and like things a bit more subtle, so that was kind of have a bit of aggression with keeping the subtle in there and the kind of OE feel a little bit.
So I've also seen there you got the J's Racing tow hook. This is again something I'm thinking of doing, and I love that it's in yellow. So did you have to paint that, or did it come yellow?
No, it comes in yellow. I think they now come in orange, I believe. I can't remember. They changed their the color. The tow hooks come about. The car does go on track, rarely, but it does go on track. It's just I remember seeing cars being uplifted from track. I remember seeing a Porsche, I think it ran out of fuel. They just put straps around the wheels and just hoisted it up, because maybe there was no accessible tow hooks at the time, and I just thought, I don't want that. I'd rather them just lash around a tow hook and pull it. I mean, on track, they just need to get the car off, and then they can get the session restarted. You
did it for a purpose, but it looks sick as well.
When the bay was smooth, the original towing points that come down off the chassis legs, they're now gone. So I had no towing facility on the front whatsoever. So yeah, say if I went in backwards in the gravel or something, they would probably just tow it out by whatever they could get their hands on. I'd rather have a nice yellow, you know what I mean, thing that they can visually see and then just pull it out.
Yeah, and then absolute worst case, replace it or get it repainted rather than destroying some
absolutely.
Wheels. Front grille, is that?
No, that's the OE.
Right.
And then of course OE headlights.
Which look factory fresh. They just look brand new, basically.
Those headlights are old. Yeah, I got them almost as soon as I bought the car. But then I've looked after it. It's been garaged for a lot of its life now since I've had it, so the UV hasn't really affected them, fortunately, because I've had the car longer than how old the car was when I got it, but the lights were just affected by the UV in Japan.
Okay, well, let's work our way round then. This is, in my opinion, the best wheel for a Honda. And the fact that there's some spoon brakes behind it, this is basically just the dream spec. And obviously you've got the wings as well. So what is the wheel and the specs and everything?
So it's a Volk Racing CE28, 16x7. I originally had 15-inch T37s on there, but I felt the 15s were just a bit too small. And then I found the CE28. Once again, not a lot of people had them at the time. And I thought, that's really cool, it's different. A lot of people had T37s, and that's why I went for them. For me, it has to be the bronze. Folk bronze is nothing like it in the world, and it can't really be replicated. That does scare me if any wheels get damaged. I guess that leads me on to the tyre choice. I had 808s, but once again, anytime I went on track, they just couldn't keep up with things that were running semi-slicks. So then I opted to go for those. But in going for those, because the sidewall, because they're quite wide, the tyre would sit actually on the original OE wing, and then that's what then led me to look at options for wider wings, and that's what led me to the J's, because they're 20mm wider, and I wanted to go for the genuine because they've still got the holes for the clips for the inner wheel arches.
Oh, nice.
But of course, the return on the wing where the inner wheel arch goes fits lovely, but then that's OE spec, so of course I couldn't run that. So what's been done is the wing's been cut, and then a metal plate put in, and then the inner wheel arch has been heated up and stretched over. So I then run the OE inner wheel arch, but I've got the clearance for the tyres.
Crazy.
It's to obviously get what I kind of set out to do in the first place, to get me that wider so I wasn't rubbing on the wings itself with the width.
Spoon calipers in the front as well.
The beauty with Spoon is it runs stock size discs, stock size pads, so you can choose any brake pad for an EK9. So it gives you that kind of diversity, where if some brake kits, you then have to use theirs or another one, which kind of limits you. If you don't get on with them, then you're kind of stuck. And that's why I quite like the Spoon. And originally, of course, I had the Spoon calipers under the OE wheels, which they fit.
What suspension have you got? Because it's sitting quite low on the front, round really. But
it's got tying coilovers. Then my second set of tying coilovers on the car, as I've had the car so long. The last set lasted me a considerable amount of time, so I just went for them again. And that's what kind of then led me on with the theme of the car, was the tying with the green, Takata harnesses with the green from those, and naturally then bled through for the rest of the car, which obviously we'll see later with the engine bay.
Underneath, is it, obviously we can't see that today, is it all been like, it's all polybushed and everything under there?
Yes, it's all polybushed. When the engine was out, and we put Spoon rigid collars in as well, skunk to rear lower arms, buddy club, camber adjustment arms. I have ordered some rear camber and toe adjustment arms, which I'm going to get Northampton Motorsport, looking to set up the car, as obviously I've heard fantastic things from them, what they can do, and the guy who does it's got an EK9 as well, so it's in safe hands. He knows what he's doing.
Because I saw that you put these lug nuts on recently as well. So these are full titanium, correct?
I quite like titanium. It's once again, it's a little bit something different. I kind of like the cool with the burnt titanium as well. I did have alley wheel nuts. Sometimes there's issues with alley wheel nuts. They're super light, but due to the aluminium, they can have problems and shear. So I thought, let's go for titanium. Like you said, they've only just kind of come through. They've only been on the car a couple of weeks. Go well with the blue of the Spoon calipers.
Well, yeah, and I think it also goes really well with the bronze. So it's like this perfect marry between the two colours that you've got there. So yeah, I'm a big fan of like the burnt titanium look as well.
Thanks, man. Side skirt stock. This carbon strip. There's a company in Scotland, just because I think it was a nice little touch. Like I said, something different. I've never seen a car with it, and I got the opportunity to have one of those.
And then as we come around the rear then, it is just like a super clean, like OEM plus kind of vibe, but there's just like subtle touches of like more race car. Like it's quite a cool balance between everything, like all the cool bits, I suppose, of each genre, so to speak. So what have we got around the back?
Well, going on that point, I like how the Civic looks, and I didn't want to make it look not like a Civic, and that's how I wanted to kind of keep it. But then you, like you say, you add maybe just a little bit more. The Seeker spoiler, well, that's just an OE one, but extended longer, and you got the carbon fin, so it's just that little bit more. The rear diffuser looks very OE, but actually if you look at it, it's actually a massive diffuser which goes all the way to the rear subframe, and it's functional. It goes all the way up, blocks off, so no air gets inside that bumper.
So cool. I'm just going to point out the genuine Mugen sticker on the back as well.
Oh yeah. When I bought the car, it had a tiny little Mugen sticker on it, but it was just looking a bit tatty. Probably come all the way from Japan with it on. And I just thought, well, that's cool. I'll put a Mugen sticker on it, like a newer modern one, because it has got a fair bit of Mugen on it. I like Mugen. Once again, it's kind of the factory option, performance option for Honda. And I've got that affiliation, which I quite like.
What about this? Because usually there would be an aerial sticking out of here.
So this part is actually genuine Honda. This was fitted to the race base EK9s, which were basically very, very low spec, but still the engine, still was the chassis, really meant for race use. So this is genuine Honda, but I didn't want the aerial because I don't have a radio, so I thought that was a great option, so I ordered it straight from Honda. Just
imagine how few of these are actually out there. So what exhaust have we got?
It's a custom 3-inch exhaust, and I had a Fujitsubo RM-01A on it with my B series, and I loved that exhaust. If anyone's got a B series, put a Fujitsubo RM-01A on, you will not be disappointed. So I wanted to kind of recreate that, and we literally went to the exhaust place and I said, you just need to replicate this. So it is the same, it's just 3" and it's made to be like a Fujitsubo RM-01A. Large center box, it's got a little tiny bullet silencer as the pipe comes above the lower arm, and then the pipe comes into the back box from the top and exits at the bottom. All that's to stop that resonance, that raspiness, and actually kind of create a nice tone which is quiet, because obviously 3" can be quite loud.
Yeah, there's obviously the J's Racing tow hook on the back as well. As we've spoken about the exhaust, obviously if you've ever seen this car before, you will know that this does not have a B series in it anymore. So no. Shall we jump into the engine bay and have a look at that?
Sure.
As you can see, this is not quite a standard engine bay for an EK9. There is a lot going on here, and there's also a lot not going on here, which also adds to the whole presence of this engine bay. So Andy, talk us through what's happened in here.
Oh, where to start? So I obviously had a B16B in it, and then went to a B18C from a 98 spec Integra. B series just didn't necessarily cut it for me. It's just the mid-range torque. They're just lacking. Yeah, and appreciate B series are great and they feel fantastic when you're really moving, but realistically, how often do you drive like that? Probably minimal. So actually the K series. And I'd always looked at the Spoon EK9. I'd always remembered that car from even before I got this and just thought, that's the epitome, that's awesome. So it's kind of natural that I'd love to have gone for a K series. So I went to HondR and we started talking about what I wanted, and that's why I took it to HondR, because they kind of listen to what you want and your ideas, and they just facilitate that. They don't lead, they don't say, no, this is what we do, you take it. And I guess that's why any work they do with engine bays is all kind of individual and it's all kind of unique. And one of the first things they said was, oh, I think you should go ITBs. Obviously been in the Honda game for a while, ITBs would always been fantastic because the sound, especially in Vtec, would have been great. But I'm aware of issues with cold start, and you have no brake assist because you have no plenum anymore, so you have no vacuum. Then we set to work to resolve those issues so it drove and performed like a regular car, but having the advantages of the ITBs. And we got around the brake vacuum issue, so I've now got a vacuum box with a vacuum pump. It's just for like ones that they use on Caterhams and things like that. The line then leads over the inside of the wing, through under here, comes out firewall and goes into the brake servo. So then I've got brake vacuum. With the idle cold start, I actually have the original K series idle air control valve fitted to the back here, so it still performs and acts like a regular car, has cold start, acts normal, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want to be messing around thinking I need to do this or do that to work the car or be conscious of it. You just want to go out and enjoy it.
Wow, yeah, I never knew that about this. That's so cool that you took the time to actually just figure those things out rather than just being like, oh, it'll be fine, it's just the way it is sort of thing.
For me, the drivability and the fun driving it, I don't want to take that away too much, because the whole point is that it's not a show car just to be driven or transported, drop-off at shows. For me, it's the drive. The best thing about any show or taking the car out at like today is just getting to drive it and think, yeah, that was great. And when you get to your destination, and that was fun because it just pulled in and the throttle response was great. And
I think that's what another thing that's so amazing about this car is that you actually drive it, but it still just wins like every show it goes to, it seems. It's like this incredible thing where like most people would just build this and then they just would garage it and then take it to a show on a trailer or something and then not drive it. These are such drivers cars, and especially with this engine, the fact that you actually drive it but it still looks this good is just like the epitome of any sort of dream Honda build, really.
Thanks, mate, I appreciate that. I think I might have said to you before, it wasn't built to win shows by any means. I didn't go out there thinking this is going to be a show winner, I'm chasing these awards. Not at all, I just built it for me. And the fact it wins, it feels good. But I don't build it, and when it comes to the time that it doesn't win any, so be it. I'll still then drive home and have a great time on the way home from the show. It doesn't matter. Don't get me wrong, it's an honor to win. I still get surprised because there's some really, really nice cars out there, but that's not really what it's built for. It's just meant for me to drive and enjoy.
So let's have a little chat about what's actually going on in here then. So obviously we've got, so is this a JDM K20a or is this an A2?
Yeah, this come from a 2003 DC5, and I wanted the JDM engine because it's a JDM car. And of course you get the more power stock created from camshafts. It's also got the gearbox which comes with the OE LSD, so I just thought it's a JDM car, it needs to have a JDM engine in it. Subsequently, I've now changed the gear set, so it's now got an FD2 final drive, which is 5.1 if I recollect, and it's got then the FD to 6th gear in it, so on motorways, once again the RPM is dropped rather than it revving quite high when you're doing, of course, the speed limit at 70 miles an hour. But yeah, through the gears, it really goes through them. And I think a lot of people don't think about gearbox modifications when they're looking at making their car perform better. They just think, oh, it's all engine power, engine power. Well, actually, if you just get it to accelerate through the gears, you don't need to be doing 140, 150 miles an hour, so just down gear it, or actually you can just go through the gears quicker and it accelerates faster and is a bit more sprightly off the line.
So to get this in, obviously this doesn't just bolt straight in. HondR have done a lot of shaving in here as well. So how long of a process was it to get this engine in the car?
HondR had the car for 3 months, and to be fair to them, that was over the Christmas break, so they had 2 weeks off in the middle of that. So yeah, it was quite a quick turnaround really. Spent some evenings there myself with them, talking things, because everything was kind of thought out and discussed, and that's what I like I say, it was a two-way kind of process. Used Hybrid Racing, all their conversion kit. Previously met Dave from Hybrid Racing, spoke about the K series, and he said, yeah, do it. And then here we are a couple of years later. But yeah, the Hybrid Racing stuff, looking at it compared to others, it just seems to be superior, just seems to work, more reliable, built better, and that's why I opted for it. Like I say, I'm a bit of a geek. I will look at everything, literally have 2 things, weigh it up, down to the radiator. You know what I mean? Why should I choose this radiator over this one? Which one's the better of that? Because I want to make sure I'm getting the best and what works for me. Because just because people haven't got the same things as I have on mine doesn't mean that, oh well, they're not as good. It just means because it doesn't work for what I wanted them for, you know. And I guess that's what makes car scenes and modifications interesting, because it's like, oh well, how come you went for that? And then they say, oh well, that makes sense, because yeah, that wouldn't work for me because I went for that. Obviously
it's then running into these gorgeous ITBs. So what ITB setup is this?
So they're the AT Power throttle reset, and I like AT Power because they're based in the UK. I swear it's Norwich. So they're real local, and it's something different. Previous to this, I hadn't seen many AT Power sets. And once again, because they're relatively small and local, they would customize it to kind of what you want. If you wanted something, they say they were willing to come down to the car and to see if it wouldn't work, because obviously they make it for a DC5, which has got different size engine bay, but if it didn't work with my hoods, they could come out and they could then look at it and take measurements. So they're really great guys. Fortunately, this was actually just a stock set they sent out. We test fitted it and it worked fine. Phenomenal sound from them. It's nothing else.
Something I've never asked you, what sort of power does this thing actually make?
All right. Yeah, so it's just stock internal K20a. It makes 248 horsepower, 182 foot-pounds. You can go for torque or horsepower with throttle bodies depending on the runner length. You can adjust it. So these are actually the medium, so it's kind of best of both, but you can go shorter ones and longer ones. I can't remember which way around. I think the shorter one increased torques, the longer one increased horsepower, or the other way around. It was a few years ago we were looking at it, but I just went for the medium ones. I was kind of happy there was no particular way. The car doesn't really weigh a lot, so I wasn't particularly bothered about torque, but yeah, you want that mid-range torque, so I just thought let's just go the middle ground and get the middle-sized runners.
So what is it, a K-Pro ECU?
No, it was, so it's a AM standalone ECU. We did have HondR on it, but for some reason, I don't know if other people have had it, but when you went full throttle, the engine cut out, it couldn't calculate the airflow, so then had to go standalone. It's no problem, it just means that it gets a bit more mapping capability. The only different thing to the ECU is where Hondas normally take just 2 engine cycles to start up, you know, that kind of Honda sound when they start up. This takes twice as long to cycle the engine before it starts up, but that's it. Apart from that, it runs and performs fine. I can go full throttle now, which is great.
So who actually mapped the car?
It was mapped by Romain. He'd done my B18 prior, and I fully trusted him. And to be fair, he mapped like full throttle quite quickly. Then he spent ages on part throttle, and he cares. He comes out in the car with you afterwards. He'll talk to you, make sure how you drive it and it works. Yeah, he did a great job as always.
Yeah, I mean, my car's also mapped by Romain, so I know that exact experience happened with me too, so I know he really cares, and obviously that is why he is one of the best for Hondas. And the drivability was an absolute game changer on mine. And obviously with ITBs, that is such a huge deal when mapping these.
Yeah. But for me, it's not all about pub top power figures. I just wanted a car that I could fun in and drive. Like I say, it's for me. I don't really care what other people's opinions are on it, as bad as that sounds, or as good as that sounds, depending on your opinion again. But for me, it was just, I wanted to be able to drive and have fun in it. And in Romain's hands, I knew that, like yourself, that had happened, you know. I
also see this strut bar. So is this a genuine Mugen piece?
Yeah, no, this is genuine Mugen, and I've got turret razors. So the feet, it may be sacrilege, but the feet were cut off the Mugen brace. But the guy who fabricated, because there's quite a lot of custom metal work on it, as you can appreciate, and the guy who then did all the welding, the fabrication work for the car, he practiced getting the heat, the speed right so it would match the Mugen original welding, because obviously they had to be angled further up and that's what he did. And as you see, you probably can't really tell that it's not actually, Mugen didn't make that, and yet these were cut off.
Yeah, I think that's the bit that throws me off. You usually see like the arm come off and then it sits over the strut top, doesn't it?
Yeah, so normally on the EK9, it would normally have a red strut brace which fixed to these locations, but of course on a normal EK, it doesn't have these turret raisers. So this would be flat, so then the foot sits flat. But they had to be then cut off and then raised at the angle so they could still work. It's like I say, it's like OE, but really not, and people don't notice it. But it's even like the aircon was removed from the car, which sometimes I regret, to be fair. And I didn't just remove the aircon pipes. As you can see, there's nothing now in the firewall. I changed the entire box, so it's the aircon box is gone, and I put a non-aircon box inside, and now obviously that's when the wall's flat, because normally you'd have the pipes coming out of it. But it's all these little bits just to convert it properly rather than just like cut them off or whatever. It's like, well, let's get the non-aircon version if you're going for a non-aircon now.
You've got a Mishimoto oil capture at the back there. It is just so funny seeing the K20 without having an airbox or something on the side. It's obviously all here. And then the genuine Mugen spark plug cover in carbon, such a cool piece. And I love that it's actually like larger than all the other ones you see. Yeah,
that's what I liked as well. It's different because, yeah, like you say, the OE ones, the other ones cut out here where it goes all the way back. I think it's only these, and I swear I've seen J Blood do the bigger ones, but that's what I liked. It was quite nice. It's different. Again, you don't see too many cars with them. I also love the hybrid racing hardware for this. Just it's cool little things to, for your oil dipstick, just flick that up and lift it. Oil cap, it's flush and yet it comes up.
And it suits it well because of like all the black that you've got running as well. Like it just flows, like the carbon into the black just works. There's no like crazy coloured hoses or anything in here. But it's also great because like matching the ITBs with the green mounts and everything, like all these just little subtle touches of the green that you mentioned earlier is just really nice.
But it kind of happened accidentally. Like I say, I bought Tyne coilovers and then got Takata harnesses. Then I thought, well, I'll get the Tyne hood dampers, and then it kind of just green kind of happened. Hybrid Racing offered the mounts in black and green, so I went for that. And then we've got so many colour swatches for the ITBs. You can have so many different colours to be anodized in. And it was kind of like, well, it kind of then has to be green. So it just kind of naturally kind of happened that the red and green theme kind of come through.
Especially with the white car, like the red works so well. And for me, I would never think like, oh, green will go really well with this. But it just works so nicely. And I think because the whole bay is so smooth and everything, there's only little areas that draw your attention in, and you get pulled in by the ITBs, but then you start noticing all these other little bits, all like the dress-up hardware with the titanium around the sides, and then you got the black hardware in the middle, so it's not loads of titanium stuff. It's all been like well thought out.
Yeah, believe me, everyone always says, oh, it's so clean. Well, I could probably show you a few areas which I'm not particularly happy about, but then it is what it is. You know, if it's got a little stone chip in it, so what? It's meant to be driven. I probably had fun getting that stone chip, so that's what matters. And that's what it's built for. I enjoy driving. I don't necessarily are bothered about taking a car for people just to look at or swoon over. I just want to be able to drive it and enjoy it.
Absolutely, I'm exactly the same way. So is there anything else in here that we should talk about? Because
cool thing is the power steering, because the DC5 of course would have the big power steering pump here because it's hydraulic, but that's eradicated, it's gone. So I've got an electro hydraulic pump from an MR2, and that's up beneath this chassis leg, and the pipes, as the vacuum pipes are on the passenger side, the power steering are on the driver's side, and then come through the chassis here and then go down to the steering rack. So I've still got power steering, because no power steering is great when you're going, but parking really becomes a problem. I've driven like a converted car to no power steering and it is a nightmare. So having the power steering is a real benefit, and it kind of creates that OE kind of feel again.
But yeah, it's still like just a clean way of hiding it.
Yeah. So yeah, because that's it. Otherwise you have a massive pump here. It probably fouls on the bonnet, so you might need to cut, even though I have cut bits out of this anyway. It might not have worked with the hood, and I just thought, let's just take it away. And that was an option to do that.
We've covered everything in this incredible engine bay, so shall we now head into the interior? So then, the interior of this thing is again sort of like an OEM plus kind of vibe, but you've done like an update with the double din and that sort of stuff. So what have we got going on in here, Andy?
I wanted to get these seats. I loved the Seater 3s, ordered them, waited ages for them to come from Japan, but then when they arrived, I'm really happy with them. The glitter backs are just kind of iconic. I wanted to get red because it's, once again, the OE seats are red, so it's kind of like a compliment to that. And it's so much red in here with the red carpet as well. For me, the all red seat was a must. Spoon Sports, steering wheel. I've carried on the titanium through here with titanium steering wheel bolts, titanium shift knob. The one thing on the car everyone asks me about is the airbag delete carbon tray. I can't even remember who made it. It may be password JDM, but I can't remember because they always do left-hand drive ones. So the right-hand drive ones are really hard to find. And it was actually the same guy I bought the Mugen lower spoiler off of. To be fair, he had a cool car, as you can see. He had some really tasty bits on it. Got a spoon, rearview mirror glass, because that creates just a wider field of vision in the back. It's actually really good, and I'd recommend it. For the price of it, I'd recommend it to anyone. You can see nearly out of the rear quarter glasses. It's phenomenal. And I carried those onto the door mirrors as well, gone through just to keep the, like I say, the consistency of the blue theme. It's an RX model, so it's got the sports pedals. That's kind of it, I think. You kind of get a bit complacent with your own car. You kind of forget what you've done and what's different, certainly because I've had it for so long as well.
So we've got, obviously, as you've mentioned already, the Takata harnesses, and then in the rear there is pretty much nothing in here.
As you said, actually quite a lot's been taken out. So the spare wheel bracket has been removed. There's a big bracket in the middle, which the rear seats connect into. That's been taken out. The ABS wiring should come through. ABS has been removed from the car. As you may have noticed from the engine bay, there's no ABS now. Even the fuel pump wiring would come underneath the carpet and then go into the top of the fuel pump cover there. That's now underneath. So it's kind of had a wire tuck in the back as well. It's got a rear Mugen brace, and it's just a Tegua X brace in the back, which surprisingly, it just kind of tightens up the rear of the car. It's not a massive difference, but you just feel it just kind of tightens it up.
I think that's what's so cool about it. Like, there's just not loads of stuff done that's just like unnecessary things. Like, it's all sort of, you've done everything for a purpose, but then also made it look nice on top of that. I don't know, it's just like this cool like combo between purpose, but also the aesthetics of it.
Oh, thanks. Because I didn't want gauges all up on my dash. So that was a really good option. And once again, it's a UK company which make that, and you can customize however you want. This color scheme and this look is because that's what the Deffies look like. So I was like, well, I wanted Deffies, and actually you can just get them on your screen, so I was like, why not? But they can customize it to whatever you kind of want. But yeah, I thought that was really cool to actually have it in the head unit. It's kind of like what modern day cars, like the new Civic Type Rs, that's what they've kind of got. So it's kind of, actually, if anything, it was a bit before the Civic Type Rs. Yeah.
They've kind of taken inspiration from yours.
Yeah.
We'll go with that, we'll go with that.
Yeah, we'll go with that. I doubt it, but yeah, we'll go with that.
So guys, as you can see, this car is pretty incredible, but there's one thing that's obviously left to do, and that is to hear this thing and get this thing out on the road. This is my first time ever in an EK9.
Is it?
Yes, so I'm very excited.
I lower your expectations.
Yeah, let alone it being obviously a K-swapped one, so.
It'd be interesting to see what you make of it, driving a native K-series car, you know, compared to something which wasn't so native.
Wasn't expected to be that easy to set that up. It's like you had this ready for me.
That I did. I got your measurements, I worked it out, and we customized it for you.
So you might be able to tell in some of the windows, it has rained, and that is a shame for these Toyo tyres, because they are not one for the rain.
No, they're not.
I mean, even like straight away, it just has like this effortless feel. The cool thing for me is I have driven an ITB K20.
Oh yeah, what vehicle was that?
It was in an EP3. But that car, the idle was so high, the map I think needed to tweaked or something. They may have changed something, so it didn't drive like quite like this. So for me, ITBs based off of that car, it was amazing, sounded incredible, drove amazing when you're on it, but it just didn't have that day-to-day drivability that I'm not really looking for, but that would mean that I'd be able to commit to it with mine being a daily driver. So it's interesting that this already, from like driving it even slowly, it feels more livable.
But that's what I wanted, and like I say, there was issues with them, I know, prior to knowing that ITBs can be problematic and they're meant for race cars. Someone did ask me who dailied their car, and I told them, I said, well, she doesn't really like the cold. She takes longer to start in the cold because obviously it was probably mapped where the temperature was a little bit warmer and things like that. So I said, probably if you are dailing it, unfortunately ITBs are probably not the one, just because they can bring up things that when you just want to go to the shops, you don't really want to be sat there cranking it, ready to push the throttle to then push fuel into it and stuff. Like, you just want to get in it, start it and go.
Yeah, it's crazy how just having no rear seats or anything, you just hear the stuff in the rear so much.
Yeah, it's very, because there's then just nothing, it's just Japanese tin between us and the tyres, you know, there's nothing.
Whereas I never asked how many miles it's done. Is that still in kilometres?
No, that's the miles now, that's the chassis, it's done that. But there's nothing really original. Even the steering racks from a DC2.
I do love these seats. They hug you just the right amount. I don't feel like I'm being squeezed in. But yeah, I don't feel like I can move around. It's nice.
Oh yeah, they're perfect for me. I think if you've got any more than a 34 waist, I think you might struggle to get in them. But then they do oversized ones or large ones.
Yeah. What year is this? Is it 90?
No, this is a 2000. Oh. This car was one of the very last. I think it was built in the last week ever of production of them. So it is really late. It's an X-Reg. But that's something with the spoon brakes. The pads are floating. So all you hear is the pads rattling around.
Yeah. So I've got the spoon brakes on my S2000.
Oh, of
it's
course.
The same.
Yeah. To be fair, you put your tunes up and that, you can't really hear them. When you load up the throttle bodies, they just like flutter. It's really nice. Like.
Oh my god! What? That's crazy.
They do sound lovely. That is so noticeable. It kind of brings a bit of the old school B series crossover where it just makes that pronounced.
The first time I heard it, I was like, completely forgot it was K-swapped. I was like, hang on a minute, we're in an AK9, it's B series. That's how obvious that was. It's so deep. That's what the difference is compared to mine. It's so good that it's almost like a switch as well.
So the Vtec cuts in at 4,000 RPM on this, and it is, as soon as it gets to 4,000 RPM, it's just that lovely tone you get. See what I mean?
Yeah, it just spins up straight away.
Oh, it is dry, yeah.
It's way. It's like it hasn't even rained here. I can't believe this.
I know, right? How localized was that? How was the feel different to like your EP3?
It actually doesn't feel as different as I thought it would, and I guess that is probably just because it has the K20. I mean, it's obviously louder because there's no rear anything.
Yeah, it's true.
With the seats sitting a bit lower, it does feel like you're more in the car, but it doesn't feel as different as I thought it would. Okay. Never gets old, no matter what car this engine's in. For me, I just love that crossover. What an incredible car, and thank you for bringing it down today, Andy. It's been such an interesting look and walk around of this thing.
No, I really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Honoured to have it on your channel.
If you're interested in following this build, because why wouldn't you be, I will leave Andy's Instagram link down below and pop up on screen right now. So you should definitely go and follow him, because as you can see, this car is pretty incredible. And you've still got things you want to do with this?
Oh yeah, definitely. Looking at possibly changing the brake setup to maybe go for the bigger spoon option, engine internal work maybe. We'll see, there's plenty. That's the beauty of Hondas. It's endless, and there's so many options.
Let me know what you think down below of Andy's car, but also what you think of this new series, and also what cars should be on this feature in the future. Don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more videos from me. Comment down below on what your favourite part on this car is. Like this one, and I will catch you guys in the next one.